It's in. I probably mentioned this yesterday, but I'm kind of excited. Uh, the newest edition of Tarot of Ceremonial Magic, the brand new printing. It's been pretty much hard to get for the last pretty much year or so because it takes a while. And the first Next Millennium edition sold out faster than they thought it was going to sell out. And so we waited for a new one. Now, the new one, okay, not only does it have a new box, remember what I said about the Fool and the Goddess Justice, or boyfriend and girlfriend. And so that's the first edition box from Next Millennium. That's the back of it. And we've got the Fool here and Material Happiness over here on the other side. And it's got other neat little things in it, including the new boxes sometimes are hard to shake open. Hey, let's get going here. And of course it's got its beautiful little, but it also has right on the inside of the box, for your edification and for you determining what your birthday card or your client's birthday card is. Here are the dates associated with the 16 small court cards and the 36 small cards. They've got their dates and everything else. Very handy. That's printed on the, that's what's new about this box, besides the, and it also has a little extra bonus card. That's what the backs of the cards look like. It's the Holy Table, and two versions of the Tablet of Union, because as you probably know, the two, well, anyway, and there's the seals of the Enochian stuff, the Holy Table, but on the back is a beautiful color tree of life with the Tarot of Ceremonial Magic cards projected onto the paths. And then you can see that all the aces are represented by Kether, and all the knights, all four knights, are represented by Hokmah, and all four queens by Bina, and all four princes represent or can be assigned to the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and then all the princesses assigned to all the 10s. It's pretty, and it's a beautiful, beautiful color printing too. So I know if you're a collector, tarot collectors collect anything. Well, the first edition of that was U.S. Game Systems back in 1999, I think it was. And they went through 2 full printings of 10,000. So, and after 2 full printings and sales, they thought, we better quit while we're ahead. And they let it go out of print. And it was a long time before a good friend of mine, just a personal friend, said, I'll do an edition for you. And he did a very limited run, and they were very beautiful too. And he called that the Babylon edition. but there were only, I don't know how many hundreds, but it wasn't a big run, and it eventually went out of print too, and it stayed out of print for years and years until the good folks at Next Millennium took it over and published it in this beautiful, beautiful edition, and now it's second edition. So that's what's out there. The reason I'm really excited about this is because it fits so nicely in a Christmas stocking. Anyway, it's available now. The links are all over my page, and I hope if you're a collector and you already have earlier editions, you'll want to add this one. And if you don't have it, you should. And all through this process, the book from Weiser has always remained in print and for sale, easily for sale. Okay, business out of the way. We were talking about, officially, I guess we're calling this astrological ages versus magical aeons, and it's taken from a chapter in Angels, Demons, Gods, and the New Millennium called The Precession of the Equinoxes and the Metamorphosis of the Gods. And we did part 1 yesterday, and we're getting right up to looking at the details of of astrological ages. Okay, and let me see if I can just get the numbers for you quickly here. During its 12-month yearly journey, the sun moves forward through the zodiac, whose signs serve as symbols of the seasonal changes on Earth. During the 26,000 years of the Great Year, okay, that's for, the Great Year is how many years it takes for the sun and our entire solar system to revolve around the inscrutable center of the Milky Way and return to the same place, 26,000 years. During the 26,000 years of the Great Year, the sun moves backwards through the zodiac, whose signs and symbols are spiritual seasons. Okay. It's the momentum and direction of this spiritual growth that is the focus of this chapter, for it is, in truth, this movement that animates the metamorphosis of the gods. And so each individual sign, 1/12 part of that 26,000 years, is an astrological sign. And within sort of human memory, we pick up our examination here going back 10,996 years to the age of Leo. But it's Leo, the sun's in Leo, but just opposite the sun is Aquarius. So the influence of Leo beams at us through the sun. The sun stands between us and Leo. But we get the energy, we get the force, we get the juju from Aquarius, straight shot, undiluted, right in our rear end. So when we say we're in the age of Leo, it's the pole of Leo, and on the other side of that pole is Aquarius. So here's what was going on during the age of Leo. 10,996 BC to 8,830 BC. The end of the last ice age coincided with the beginning of the age of Leo. Much earlier, however, starting about 35,000 BC, Homo sapiens began displacing Neanderthals and other groups now we know, as late hunting and plant collecting people spread through the eastern Mediterranean and later into Germany and Denmark. By the beginning of the age of Leo, advanced hunters of the continental Europe were fashioning statuettes of fertility goddesses. But worship of animals and the magic of the hunt appears to have been the dominant form of spiritual expression. The tribal hero king killed in the hunt was venerated as a god and perhaps eaten along with the slain animal. Now, I'll digress for a second. If you can put yourself in the position of a small band of people cooperating for their existence, one group would be talented or given the responsibility of hunting for protein. And hunting is a dangerous thing. You might be going, as anyone who hunts with Dick Cheney knows, you can get killed trying to kill a mammoth or a wild boar or most anything can turn on you and kill you, especially if it's guarding its young and stuff. So very often the hunters go out with the intent of bringing something home to feed the village, if you will. And instead of them killing an animal, they get killed, or the chief hunter gets killed. So many times they're forced to not come back with the body or a carcass of an animal, but with the body of a hunter that has gone down in the hunt. The people are still hungry. And there is this combination of primitive empathy, sympathy, hunger, and thanksgiving for the dead hunter for even trying, gratefulness. He gave his life for us. He sacrificed his life for us. Maybe they bring home an animal with him, maybe they don't. But somewhere along the line, they started thinking to themselves, he's dead, we love him, we want him always with us. He gave his life for us. We're hungry. He would want us to eat. And they ate him. Cannibalism, we don't have to turn very far back into history or very far away geographically to find that cannibalism is a very common facet of human behavior, especially in primitive times. He's a hero king, and they ate him. They ate his flesh. They drank his blood. And he saved them. He was their savior. The tribal hero king killed in the hunt was venerated as a god, and perhaps eaten along with the slain animal. This way of life continued in many localities well into the later ages. The hero whose life is sacrificed for the survival of his people is certainly among the earliest gods of the prehistoric pantheon. As consort to the great goddess, we will see his position and duties change as the ages progress. So that's my comments on the age of Leo Aquarius. The age of Cancer comes next, 8,830 BC to 6,664 BC. And I explained earlier on the computation of these dates. They're approximations from approximate generally accepted astrological ages. In other words, Lon didn't just pull this out of his hat. Okay. The pole of Cancer, Capricorn. This period has been characterized as the Neolithic revolution for humanity. It was beginning to exercise a willed control of nature. In the Near East, several varieties of plants and animals were domesticated. In many areas, the nomadic life of the hunt was replaced by the establishment of villages and towns necessary for the organized cultivation of crops. Crafts of the household, such as spinning of textiles and pottery making, developed late in the Cancerian period. The town of Jericho, where decapitation of the dead and burial within the house was common. Jericho had a population of 2,000 by 8,000 BC. Crete was first settled in this period. In both locations, carved female images and phallic effigies, remnants of fertility cults, have been unearthed. Okay, that's all I had to say about the age of Cancer. Hang on just for a moment. Let me make sure that I've got my microphone turned up loud enough. You might want me to, let me just see here. Aha! Aha! Is that better? I hope so, because sometimes it turns itself down on its own. Anyway, I hope you heard enough of that so I don't have to repeat that. The next is the age of Gemini, and that would be the Gemini-Sagittarius pole. 6,664 BC to 4,498 BC. In Mesopotamia, the first settlement in the lower Sumerian plain was established in 6,000 BC. Advances in irrigation technology and other agricultural improvements during this period contributed to a proliferation of settlements, and new cities swelled in population. Standardization of languages. Okay, the root language of Proto-Indo-European was right smack dab in the middle of this. Standardization of languages, a primary aspect of Mercurial Gemini, led to the development of trade and industry. Even amidst the preoccupations of urban life, religion appears to still have been focused on the mysteries of fertilization, fertility of humans, and fertility of crops, domesticated animals, and beasts for the hunt. During this period, the figure of the great goddess changed dramatically, taking on a threefold image of maiden, mother, and crone. Furthermore, her male consort, the sacrificial victim, was pictured riding a bull or a leopard, symbolic of the animal nature harnessed, but not yet tamed. As the astrological age of Taurus was dawning, the spreading horns of the bull became the universal symbol of the goddess's sacrificial lover. The age of Taurus, 4,498 BC to 2,332 BC. We're getting right up into cultural memory here. This is the pole of Taurus, and opposite is Scorpio. The age of Taurus could truly be called the birth of civilization, for it presided over the creation of the cultures that would lay the foundation of Western thought, technology, and religion. Here the symbols and meanings of the zodiacal ages become more comprehensible to the modern student. For it is during this period that the art of astrology reached a zenith, and the 12 signs familiar to us today were given their names and their attributes. This was also the time when the archetypes of what we think of today as the pagan pantheons, they began to take form in those years. This period saw a social, sexual revolution in the hierarchy of religious cults. The command that the great goddess held upon the racial memory began to wane as it became more and more obvious that the fertility of her priestesses, and consequently the earth, depended ultimately upon the potency of her consort. Arrangements were negotiated to postpone the regular sacrifice of the male consort by substituting a surrogate victim, often a virgin boy, each year in his place. So in other words, every year, the so-called king, who was just the consort of the goddess, or of the high priestess kind of thing, he had a great life for 1 year. I mean, it was hot. It was crazy. It was cool. And at the end of the year, he died. He was killed. And his blood strewn all over the fields to fertilize them. Finally, as he grew smarter, they said, no, I kind of like being king. And tell you the truth, sometimes the priestess or of the goddess enjoyed having the same guy around for a while. So they arranged things. They amended the bylaws of their church. So to substitute a virgin boy instead of the king. Okay. Understandably, the consort, or the king, came to enjoy the idea of not being ceremonially dispatched in the fields at the end of his tenure, and eventually the matriarchal establishments were overthrown. Give them an inch and they'll take a mile, as my mother always said. Matriarchal establishments were overthrown altogether and replaced by formally subjugated males, whose emblem was the bull. Figure 7 shows that the age of Taurus saw the birth. Okay, and this is what I posted it yesterday too, but I'm going to hold it up long enough if you want to do a screen snap, if you have the capability of doing that. Or better still, make me and the publisher happy and get an Angels and Demons and Gods of the New Millennium. Anyway, Figure 7 shows the age of Taurus saw the birth of the Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Minoan, and Indian civilizations. The pantheons of local gods of these other cultures developed along uncannily parallel lines. But despite the popularity of the local deities, the predominant religious icon remained the bull. In Egypt, the adoration of the bull, Apis, dominated the ceremonies of public worship. Okay, sun's in Taurus, public worship, Taurus. And it dominated public worship for over 1,000 years. Privately, however, the priests of the bull cults worshiped differently. As I pointed out earlier, when the sun is in one sign from the Earth's point of view, the Earth is in the opposite sign from the sun's point of view. Now, you know how I always talk about the pentagram ritual is done from the magician standing on the Earth's point of view, but the hexagram, the macrocosmic rituals, are done from the sun's point of view. The sages of Egypt were among the first to realize that while our physical bodies are creatures of the earth, our spiritual bodies are real identities, are solar beings. In other words, in the age of Taurus, our physical bodies and mundane lives were influenced by the energies filtering through the sun from Taurus. But our spiritual condition was influenced directly by the unfiltered rays of Scorpio. Keeping this in mind, it's no surprise that the same priests who publicly led the jewel-bedecked bull of Apis to his sacrifice wore upon their brows the Uraeus serpent, one of the most sacred and secret symbols of Scorpio. Okay, that's where we're going to leave it today. I'm sorry I spent so much time as a salesperson today. I'll try not to do that again tomorrow. We'll pick it up with the age of Aries and lambs and all sorts of things like that. And we'll finally finish up with what's the difference between these astrological ages, which are like literally ticks on a cosmic clock. What's the difference between that and these magical aeons? Do they coincide? If so, is that just coincidental? Or do these ages bring on these magical aeons? I'll talk about that tomorrow. And Saturday morning cartoons will probably finish up. Anyway, as I'm basking in my happiness over the newest edition of these cards, I'll say goodbye. I got plenty to do today. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. It's hard to remember to do that sometimes. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. love under will.